Coming out on this Sunday evening, you could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here to see my sister documentary, and my family really appreciate you guys. But before we go any further, I know there are several families in here. Before we go any further, families in here who have been impacted by police brutality and just community violence itself. So I ask that you guys please stand up and just have a moment of silence for those families, please. Power to the people.
We were asked how we got involved, and I'll keep it brief because I'm sure you have questions that are really just Cannon and Shantae are rarely.
David, a little closer to the microphone.
All right. Briefly, we got involved in this 10 days after Sandra's death. We got a call from HBO asking us if we would be interested in making a film about this, and my wife Kate and I have been making civil rights documentaries are pretty much our whole lives. Someone came in there and strangled her with their bare hands, or the system ganged up on her and brought this beautiful woman down. It was a story that needed to be told, and that's how we began what has been, you know, a many-year journey together.
Folks, listen, thank you guys so much for being here. I can't tell you how important it is that you are and how much I know it fuels their family. And so thank you. It really means a lot. I will tell you, I did ask that question because I didn't want parasites around. I didn't want somebody to bleed them more than what they were already having to deal with. And so what ultimately came out of it was, though, is that we got a chance to kind of interact with David, with Kate. And I'll tell you this, they are truly authentic. They are truly in the fight. And because of that, I think it made it very easy for us to sort of make that decision.
Okay, let's open things up to questions from the audience.
Hello, my name is Dawn Taylor Allen. God bless your family. God bless you filmmakers. That was an excellent job. Thank you. I'm a cousin of Philando Castile. He's from St. Louis. So this has affected me deeply. This film has affected me deeply. I want to know, what are we going to do about this, period? All over the land, all over the world, this story keeps repeating itself. It keeps repeating itself. We had a young man here in October 17th that was hung in his parents' house in their own backyard. Was an activist for the Michael Brown. What are we going to do about this? There has not been, I don't think I have a question, I think I just have rhetoric. It has been several police officer shootings, hangings, and nothing, not even a slap on the wrist, nothing. They get to live their lives, and we have to suffer behind this. And I'm asking, okay, white people, what are you going to do to help black people change this rhetoric? What are you going to do? I mean, all of you are here, evidently you feel some way about it. What are you going to do in your communities with your governors, mayors, presidents, police chiefs? What are you going to do, white people? Because obviously we can't do enough.
The next question over here.
I can't say this enough, but voting is power, right? You have to vote. You can no longer sit at home saying, I'm not going to vote for whatever reason. Voting is power. You have to get out and be knowledgeable of who's running. And when they get into office, you have to hold them accountable, period, point blank. Don't just go to the polls, vote, and then that's it. Call them, bribe them, go sit in their face. Period. It starts right there. But yes, white people have got to have those uncomfortable conversations that they do not want to have. And once they begin to have those conversations and with each other, But until white people have those conversations, I think we're gonna be stuck, kind of.
And I'd like to add that I began this film, the filmmaking part, feeling like the best thing I could do was help tell Sandra's story and help humanize her, and that would help people all over, see each victim as a full-fledged human being. Sandy could speak for hundreds and hundreds of people who will never, hear their voices or even know their names. But by the end, and the closer I listened to Sandra Bland herself through her incredible video blogs, what I learned was that I'm not just a filmmaker, and I'm not just somebody who can talk and pontificate and discuss at arm's length that problem that other people have, that I am part of the problem. And I need to speak up, and I need to call out, we all need to call out injustice when we see it and not be shy about it. We'll work not only to get this story out, but to also take take clips. David's done it before, I've done it before with films we've made, and we will get law enforcement to see this. We will discuss de-escalation as an urgent part, of law enforcement reform, and we'll hopefully take it to Washington, D.C. and show clips to the Senate. We've done it before. Okay, part of a system, and we need to listen to each other and work together, and I didn't realize that going in this, just how much I too am part of it.
Sorry, pardon my manners. Can we give Kate and David a hand clap for their awesome time and happening this thing? And I salute you, my brother.
Around the time when Sandra died, and this is not a question, I'm just sharing something from my heart right now. A lot, the chaos was going on. We're seeing all of these other people being killed and murdered. Ooh, I'm nervous. I usually don't get nervous. I saw all of this, and the other people that I saw get murdered and killed and all of the chaos in other parts of the world, it affected me. But when I saw Sandra and saw her story and saw the events that happened, her eyes penetrated my soul. And I felt so connected to her. I didn't even know her. I didn't find out she was a soror until after everything. But the sadness, the hurt, the connection that I felt just from looking at her pictures and not knowing anything about her, I went into a dark place. And I really felt she was us. She was me. I was her. She looked so familiar, but I never saw her before. And I created a poem, because when I go to a dark place, I tend to get kind of creative, and I created a poem. I don't have it with me, and I don't know it by heart, but I just wanted you all to know, and I called it Sandra Bland. She is us. But I just wanted you all to know how closely it affected me. And I never met her. I didn't know her. But we're all connected. We are all connected in spirit. And I just want to give you guys my condolence. And I thank you for sharing her with us. And I thank you guys for putting this documentary and this story together. But I just wanted to share that. And it really.
Sandy is pleased right now. Thank you.
Before everybody leaves, can I ask you all to do me a favor? Please do me a favor. Before you leave, We're asking that you vote for this film. It's extremely important that you vote for this film. We're talking about what do we do? What we do is we continue the conversation. What we do is in our sphere of influence, we talk about the issues. What we do is we make sure that this film gets seen, talked about, and addressed. There's a hashtag that we want you to continue to think about, and I'm going to have her sister speak to that hashtag.
One hashtag is hashtag say her name, Sandra Bland, correct? This will be broadcast nationally on December 3rd on HBO. Get people to know about it across the country.
Yes. I know the film said the arresting officer was fired. Is he still a police officer? And what reason did they give for dropping the de-escalation training from their statewide bill?
So he's not a police officer any longer. They didn't give a reason as to why the de-escalation training was dropped from the bill. It should have never been dropped from the bill. It's the reason why we have to continue to talk about these things, because it's all a process. There were some minor victories, but they were minor. And so when, you got one success, but you've got to continue to get more successes. And the only way you do that is if you garner support through our activity. Listen, St. Louis, you all are extremely powerful. In many ways, you're the epicenter. In many ways, you are the epicenter. And so for you to do what you have already done, and for you to continue to do what you are doing, is so critical. It's very, very important.
And I'm so sorry, y'all, again. We want to thank Tivoli and Chris and his team for even having the screening
There are
here.
a number of sorors out there. I'd love you guys to stand because you sponsored this event. And you deserve a ton of credit. Thank you for the bottom of your heart.
My question it relates to the negotiations for the amount of money, because I don't think you all got enough money for your sister's death, and I don't know what is enough money when I say that. So I'm interested to know, and if you don't want to go into detail, I understand, just what went into the negotiations and how you came up with the money that they gave you guys.
So you're 1,000% right, there wasn't enough money. There's never going to be enough money, ever. What we wanted, one of the things about being a lawyer in this type of area is that you can never accomplish what the real goal is, what they really want, what your family really wants. You can never bring their loved one back. In many of the instances that you've seen instances where someone got shot while they're running from the police, Walter Scott. Someone gets shot as a little kid in a park playing with a toy within 2 seconds of the police arriving. Tamir Rice. You see these types of things on video. One of the disappointments that we had is that we did not have that available to us. It wasn't for not asking. We didn't have it. And so as a consequence, we're limited because we're limited. The long and short of it, though, is that when it comes down to the decision making, when Geneva says you torment yourself by asking yourself what happened, and so you have to change your language into what happens now, that's the C shift. That was the C shift. But I'll never tell you you're wrong to your initial point. Never.
We have a question over here. Chris, first over here.
I don't have a question. I just want to give my sister a hug. Thank you, Father.
Anything like that, you have a lot of reasons to kind of continue forward with that. So I just want you to kind of extend upon what made you even want to kind of just settle, you know what I mean? Because we know life is priceless. But thank you both. Great job on the film. Thank you for coming to St. Louis. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you for the question. Thank you. So there's two ways that this was being proffered to have happened. One, somebody did it to her. Two, it was suicide, right? If you pursue the notion that someone did it to her, then you have to prove who did it, how they did it, what they did it with, when did it happen. We had questions because of the fact that evidence had never been recovered or was not recovered in time that made answering those questions simply impossible. Simply impossible. And so as a consequence, like for example, the bag is a real issue. There's nothing on the bag. If I'm the defense lawyer, I'm happy with that in a civil proceeding, because now you can't say, Canon, that that's the instrument of death. So what killed her, Canon? What killed her? I'm not able to answer that question. So we had limitations that ultimately created the problem. But I think that what Dave and Kate did with this film is that irrespective of how it is that you want to talk about how she passed, none of it is acceptable. The beauty of this film is, and I have to tell you, the way that they did what they did is they really literally let those who had power speak for themselves. And the fact that they did, and the way that they did, is very telling, isn't it? So when I talk about how these two are truly authentic and truly in the fight,
monetary amount, so I could have to bring my sister back, but for her, the non-component part was hopefully someone else's child, or mom, or dad, whatever, would never go through that again with the other things that came along with the monetary amount. Thank you.
Hello. Hi. My name is Yvonne Collins-Myers. And I never went to the restroom after the film. I didn't know that you guys were going to be here. And I sit down and I'm going, that's Sandra Bland's attorney. At 28, she was so powerful. Her message just resonated all through my spirit. Though she's gone, I believe she fulfilled a purpose. And I haven't seen anybody fight that hard for equality and justice since Angela Davis as a woman. And sometimes we get a place where we have to risk in order to get something done. We don't understand what's happening, and we just go with our spirit and our mind. And I just appreciate the Sandra Bland. I appreciate being able to say her name. 28 years old, wow, powerful. And thank you guys for sharing the story. I'm so touched. You know, I cried a sad and a happy movie, and that's who I am. But I was touched, very, very touched. I feel so connected, as the lady back here said, to your family and to the legacy of your sister. Say her name, Sandra Bland.
That's right, that's right.
Thank you so much, Kim. We appreciate you. Thank you.
When I researched it, it said that it was for sensitivity for persons with mental health issues and substance abuse issues. Were they insinuating that she displayed either of those things? Because in the documentary, it said that the substance found wasn't a significant amount. So how is the Sandra Bland actor win for the state of Texas?
well, yeah, they were insinuating that, absolutely. They were insinuating that she had mental health issues. I know that in talking to Geneva, I know Shantae will tell you the same, that with respect to the way that we perceived it, if we can help people in an act, we're going to do it. One of the things that we did in that settlement is make sure that there are nurses on staff at the jail 24/7. That was not the case before. One of the things that we did is make sure that with respect to cameras in that jail, there are cameras in that jail, and fobs that they have to swipe and they have to wand in order to make sure that they're checking on people. That wasn't there before, that's there now. You know, again, it's about building blocks. And one of the things I want to say about this family. Throughout the entire process, it was amazing to see their eye on others. They really were so concerned about trying to use their tragedy for the betterment of the collective. And I gotta tell you, we say that. It's words that we put out into the ether. But I saw them live that. Walking around with t-shirts of other people's names who had died. Every time that they're out, they talk about and mention other people who have been subjected to police violence. It speaks to the fact that they are who they are. It's a miraculous thing. It's not an easy thing. It is a treacherous thing. They got vilified, talked about, dogged out, mistreated, and still they did. And still they stood. And so when we talk, going back to what do, not everybody can do the same things. Ms. Geneva tells us all the time. Not everybody can do the same thing. But doggone it, we gotta do something. We gotta do something. Live their lives. And I just say, you look at what she did, thanks to these two, there's a hero up there.
Yeah. Family, I have a daughter the same age. And I agree with what this lady over here said. St. Louis is such a divisive and segregated city. It's so hard. And sometimes I feel like we've made no progress at all. It's like, in fact, we had signs, I'm still protesting the same shit. It's not changing, and I feel like the little things you're talking about versus money, that would have saved Sandra's life if somebody just would have looked in that cell. I felt like they were really negligent. If nothing, she shouldn't have been in there to begin with, but once she was in there, they were so negligent. And I feel like the only thing that we can do, and especially I'm frustrated as a white person, other than voting and protesting, I feel like the only thing we can do is start with the babies, start with our children. It's just an overwhelming, thing. I want to thank you very much for the film.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
It was excellent, by the way.
Thank you.
But I just want to ask a question that did it not give you pause? It certainly did me, and to see if I'm wrong about this or not. But was the independent autopsy firm appointed by the people in Texas, or did you guys have any say on that? How did that work out?
So, no, I actually picked Dr. Carter. We did a bunch of research to determine who was in that venue, who was respected, and who had the capacity to render a quality opinion. We wanted a second autopsy. The family was open to us making sure that we did so. I will say this, one of the things, God forbid anybody is affected going forward in this room, but when there is a question as to what happens to your loved one, you have to get an autopsy. You can't have a second autopsy done if there's involvement. You're not thinking about those things. You don't know about those things half the time. Your mind is elsewhere. Your emotions are elsewhere. But it's so important that you get someone that is in a position where they can kind of go through that process with you.
Hi, my name is Valerie Young. I am from East St. Louis. First and foremost, I want to thank you guys for being the voice of reason and speaking out. And to all those who were affected by police brutality and injustice, I stand up and say my condolences. I find training very important. I'm a CIT facilitator, crisis intervention specialist, and I feel that if that was involved with the police department and so forth, I believe it would have saved lives, because aside from the monetary issue, the family just wanted some de-escalation techniques, and the fact that they took that from the bill, am I saying that correct? They took it from the bill, but, put a few cameras up, it's almost sad to me, but I love the fact that you guys said it's not just about Sandra, it's about more than Sandra who's being affected before, during, and after her demise. So I'll take my hat off to you guys.
Thank you so much, Queen, and to be here. And although I am grateful for all the wonderful people I have met, I would love to have my sister here with me.
this whole film. Because I felt her pain. I'm an older person, but I have fought for years for rights. I stand up for rights. So I really, really, really would like to know, are you guys going to expand this to the different schools in Illinois? Our kids are being lost in, the right word I think I'm looking for is they're being fooled by television, the things that's going on in the world, the fast life, you know, and I feel, and every time I look at one of my kids as being shot, killed, put in jail for the wrong reasons, you know, I go home crying a lot of days. So I really want to know if you guys plan to expand this, because in East St. Louis, we really need to, I feel like our kids really need to see this.
So in Chicago, we had a special screening a couple of weeks ago for 400 middle school kids, 7th graders, 8th graders, and they were right there for it, and they stood in line, got to meet us and ask questions and hug, and it was fascinating. They're totally up for it. It affected their lives. These issues affect their lives enormously, but they've had a new platform, a kind of through Sandra's story, to be able to look at the issues and discuss it. And this is a conversation starter. So I agree with you, and I think we can do a lot to bring this to kids also. Open to suggestions too. If anybody wants to work with us to create special screenings, we're so open to it.
Louisa Wiles, I'm with the St. Louis City Civilian Oversight Board. And I know, and what we do, we investigate police misconduct. And I know Chicago has one as well. And Ferguson Forest has one now with the voluntary boards. But what I do know from doing investigations that the appalling behavior of that officer is part of his character. And I can basically say that if you would be able to get his history, you'd find that he has numerous complaints, probably saying the same thing. And the reason I'm saying that is because we have a civilian oversight board in the city of St. Louis. We're located at 1520 Market. Our number is 657-1600. Please, when you have an altercation with a police officer, and I don't care how minor the misconduct may be, report that misconduct to our office. To our office, not the internal affairs, to our office. Because when you report it to the Civilian Oversight Board, we oversee what internal affairs does to make sure they do a complete investigation. We have to stop calling our friends and getting on Facebook and Twitter and complaining. We need to use the resources we have to make the changes in this community.
All right, all right.
They gonna make it happen for you. Use them. She right. We all go to all of these social media outlets when we need to be going to the proper part.
If you create a report, then the second person that comes after you gets to use that report as notice that the officer was the way that they are, and as a consequence, it makes it a lot easier to hold the police department, that officer accountable. That's the type of stuff that gets bad officers fired.
Right.
Thank you.
I guess you guys know I'm white, and I feel hopeless. I absolutely feel hopeless. I don't think any of this behavior is new. I'm super grateful that we get to learn about it now, but I don't think any of this behavior is new. I also worked as a prosecutor until about a year ago, and I have a couple of different challenges. One is I don't understand why our kids, from the day that they enter our school systems, are not educated in our criminal justice system as a part of their core education.
Oh yeah.
Most of the people that are entering into our criminal justice system have no idea how it's supposed to work, so they have no power and they have no ability to fight. And that's ridiculous. And then my second thing is that you guys are not coming close to holding your prosecutors accountable for behaviors. As a prosecutor, all the time, I saw things that would curl your toes and heard stories and had to live in that world, and nobody is talking about it. Nobody is coming forward. Your elected prosecutors, the ones you have in the city today, the ones that you have in the county, are part of this shit. Everyone. Everyone. And it's not okay, and we have to figure out a way. You know, Wesley Bell is going to take over in the county, thank Jesus, right? But here's what's real. He's not going to go after Michael Brown's killer because he doesn't think that he's going to be able to keep his job if he does. And that's not okay, right? And that's not because Wesley Bell is wrong, because he's amazing, right? That's because we are not holding people accountable. And there has to be something that changes there. And I have no idea what it is. I feel hopeless. And I'm powerful because I'm a white, affluent female, and I feel like I can't do anything. I'm educated, I've worked in the criminal justice system, and I feel broken and heartbroken and hopeless. And I am here for every one of you. I pull over every time I see a cop anywhere near a brown person. I get my phone out, and I still feel like it's bullshit and it's not enough.
Guess
and
what?
It has to stop.
Guess what? Guess what? You're not hopeless because you're here. You're not hopeless because you're speaking to the issue. So don't let that hopeless feeling overcome your power, because at the end of the day, I need you. You understand? Like, it doesn't seem like it's impacting things, but it does. That's how you change things. You talk to the person next to you, you build coalition, and then you bring power to bear. When we talk about power is in the people, it really is. You're right. We cede it a lot. We give it away. We give it away. But when you see somebody giving away their power, why you give it away? Why'd you give it away? Regain your power. Do what you give that speech 10 times. For real. Because I thank you for it.